All right, guys. Just wanted to upload a quick video. First off, thanks for joining. If you haven't done so, throw your boy a like and a subscribe. Um, Again, I'm trying to get a little bit more content out. So we are post East versus West 7, and I'm back in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Just got in. So I wanted to give my thoughts on the event as a whole, and kind of break down a couple matches, probably my own, along with a couple other key ones. So first and foremost, big shout out to Angin Terzi. The guy keeps raising the bar. Another unbelievable event. I know pay-per-view sales were good this time. Had a live stream option, all kinds of good stuff. So Angin is definitely raising the bar. That said, unfortunately, Team West got swept. Terrible, but it is what it is. So I know I've been reading some comments and looking at people or looking at posts and things, and people are talking about lopsided matches. Just my take on that, I really don't think that's the case. I think all these matches were logically put together and warranted completely. I think everybody on the card was at peace with their match. Maybe not their outcome, but not because of the matchmaking itself. And at the end of the day, the matches are proposed logically, and we as pullers accept them. So I do think, regardless of outcome, our team from the West Side really brought the best versions of themselves, which is really a testament to the guys that we faced. So at the end of the day, it's us versus us in preparation, and we're doing our best to keep up with the Eastern guys. But when we start getting to that upper echelon, it's going to be tough, and the matches are going to keep getting harder, as they should. So I think overall, the event was a huge success, regardless of win-loss records. I think we saw a bunch of 3-0 matches, and we talked before in the past on the We Are the West podcast that it's easy to look at a 3-0 sweep and say, man, that was an easy match for a guy. But I think what's important to dig into is really what that guy who won 3-0 thinks at the end of that match. So if you're the guy who comes into the match and you get 3-0 swept, if you talk to your opponent afterwards and you've earned a little bit of respect, I know for a lot of us that's an important thing. So I know, starting off, we can start off with Bacho and Adam. Wow, like Bacho, what are you even supposed to think? I think speed was an issue for Adam, especially with his preliminary game plan, which is going to be a lot of side pressure, which when you're loading a ton of side pressure, it allows for an outside hit. But Bacho showed even in the third round, complete hand dominance. Now that can also be a product of a guy being a little bit demoralized, and in the third round not having that emotional edge. Who knows? I don't know. From the outside in, it looks like Bacho's the real deal. Talked to the Georgian team, and they've been raving about this guy. And I think I've heard some chatter. I don't know who actually said it, but they're saying he's on Zurab's level. I'm not sure if Zurab agrees with that. I'd have to ask him. But it looks like the guy's at an extremely high level and unbelievable for an 18-year-old kid. So hats off to him. No shame in Adam's loss. It was kind of a catch-22 match for Adam. I know personally that wouldn't be a position I'd want to be in. A guy with no video, everybody's screaming how great he is. He's young, no one knows him. So his credibility and a loss to a guy like that can be perceived poorly, when in fact that guy might be actually at a really, really high level. So no shame in the loss. Back to the drawing boards. Adam's going to come back better. Adam's young too. He's only 26 years old. So I'm sure we're going to see plenty more from Adam. For Doug's match, I do think that, again, is one that was a 3-0 sweep. That Doug was a little bit closer than appeared. He did talk to Daniel afterwards, and Daniel did admit that, in the first round, he was in a very uncomfortable situation where he had to straight face it and kind of smile to mask the fact that he was in a little bit of trouble. But again, unbelievable job by Daniel. I mean, his level is incredible, especially for his size and stature. So there's not much you can say about poorly about Daniel. I mean, he didn't even really need to get into his drag move. He went inside, and I, in fact, thought that that was probably the best lane for Doug, and I think it actually turned out to be. But you know, Doug came in stellar form. He treated it like a professional, and you know, and it was nothing but respect afterwards. So I'm not going to hit every match. I'm just going to hit the ones that are pertinent and in my mind. And the next one that comes to mind is Rob and Zurab, obviously. Um, so Rob, I think Rob earned a lot of respect from Zurab. I thought that that match, regardless of any ring rust that Rob might have had, I thought he made it very competitive. It wasn't a walk in the park, and I think there's some spots where Zurab could have been in some real trouble. Obviously, especially outside of the straps. So I think we see an instance where Zurab is the dude right now. Like, it's really hard to say that Zurab at, like, you know, 100 kg. I don't know who's better than him. I don't know who's stronger than him. I don't think anyone's stronger than him per se. So it would have taken like a perfect effort by Rob, and I think he brought, you know, the best that he could in the time frame. And Rob's one of those guys where his potential's unlimited. I think the biggest takeaway from this is that Rob left the match. You know, after I feel like it was a very contested match, he left it with very good energy and positive motivation. And we've been talking since the event on how we can try and up our ante as Americans as far as training in a way that the Europeans do, which is going to require some travel for us and some uncomfortability, and it's going to require some accountability for us. So hopefully, moving forward, we'll get some close practices with some of the Northeastern guys on a more regular basis. So I can't wait to train with Rob. He brings such a different dynamic and skill set and like anatomy that I really believe that we can complement each other really well, especially with a no egos training approach, like not a practice approach where everybody's trying to pin each other, but a training approach, like a workout in the gym. So I think it's a beautiful thing that Rob came back and it was had a very respectable showing. I think he gave Zurab a real fight. And that's with 7-8 weeks of training. So I think it's going to be, I think we're going to, you know, we are going to see Rob hopefully turn in to what we know he can be, which is like, I mean, he's got the highest ceiling probably of anyone in this country. So I can't wait to keep progressing on. I thought that match, I mean, there was moments in that match where that was, you know, one of the most exciting, you know, matches for me personally, cornering Rob. I was definitely worked up and had my blood pressure high. So I can't wait to see where Rob's going to go. Love the dude. He's awesome. Moving forward from that, I know I talk about Mindaugas. I know that was the first match. Mindaugas, I mean, unbelievable, like dominant performance that a lot of people didn't expect to happen. So that was to me like a huge surprise in dominance, but I shouldn't be surprised with Mindaugas. I mean, the guy has shown an incredible skill level and also a strength level that he doesn't appear to have when you look at him optically. I think that guy is aces and spades. Like, he's unreal. His charisma and his humor, his sarcasm is so on point, like with American humor. We joked about like you need to be an honorary West guy like every time because you fit in so perfectly. He can crack jokes with the best of them and trash talk better than anybody. So he fits in real well. But Mindaugas was unbelievable. The Cody Merritt match and Aljan Muratov. I thought again that was another one that was a little bit closer than it appeared. I think that Cody earned a good amount of respect there. He looked good outside the straps. He fought and battled hard to stop Aljan's carving. So like there's some criticism points about the refereeing. First and foremost, I want to say, number one, refereeing is totally impossible. It is impossible to be a perfect referee. That's not even a thing that exists in the world. Even like Travis Bajan always says, like Bart Wood's the best ref out there and he sucks. But the reality of it is there's always going to be criticism of officials in any sport at any level. There's going to be things that are missed, and then there's going to be things that weren't missed but are perceived that they are. And there's going to be perceived biases that 9 times out of 10 are not real. So I think in that match, we saw a lot of carving by Alajan and Cody trying to stay out. Little criticism about the carving that Alajan got away with. But I mean, guys, at the end of the day, you got a guy that wants to come inside and a guy that wants to go outside. We're up there fighting. It's our job to fight for what we need in the setup and not allow to go until we have a fair setup or what we need. So every good arm wrestler is going to battle for what they want or what they need. And reffing's an impossible job. So I don't think there was zero sour grapes. I don't think anyone really had any sour grapes over refereeing. I think we all understand that it's part of the game and it's a tough job. So I thought Cody had some windows there, but how impressive is Alajan? Oh my goodness. How impressive is this guy? I don't know what he weighed. He definitely looked way bigger than 100 kilograms, but he looked good. I would guess, if I had to guess, I would think he's about 240 now. But we're talking about a 240 guy that's dominating the super heavyweights left. So unbelievable. And then we'll skip ahead. We'll go ahead and skip ahead to Brandon Alcesser and David Samusha. Obviously, was heavily invested in that match. Again, another one where I think Brandon doesn't have anything to hang his head about. I think he really made David work. David showed him a lot of respect before and after the event. And I think Brandon battled to the best of his ability. And he showed some things that I think people didn't think he had. He was actually very competitive when the match went inside. And he was working hard to get what he calls his lock, where he has his press in and he's got his shoulder protected. He just couldn't quite get there. And that's a testament to David. I mean, this guy, let's be serious, guys. David Samusha. We are not saying this guy's name enough. David Samusha. I talk to guys and they act like they don't know who he is. They watch all the East versus West cards and act like they don't know who David is. It's because he's classy and he's nice and he doesn't talk and he's always respectful. And I think that's a thing that needs to be celebrated, not overlooked. This guy's the most dominant champion that this promotion has had. He has been in East versus West, I think, from East versus West 3 against me, and then on every single event afterwards, winning and defending his title. He has all of the things that Angan is adding, like the pieces of armor. He just got the body armor. He's ahead of everybody. This is the most dominant guy in the entire promotion, and he continues to show why. He was very comfortable against Craig, even though he did admit that Craig really pushed him to his limit. And he wound up being in a similar situation with Brandon, who is a complete opposite style of puller. Brandon had some success, very committed outside the strap, compromising David's wrist, showed that he was there. But the strap and David's ability to force a hook center table and also go on the B side and get the hook just showed why he is the champion that he is. So next up was my match. I'll give as quick a breakdown as I possibly can on that. Some mistakes that were made and some things that I think went well. Game plan, round 1 and 2 was a high hook, with good hand control and positioning. I think that worked out for me. I expended a little bit more energy than I would have liked to in the setups and some of the fouls. The first go stopped a little bit on my side. I had to work. I wound up trying to drive side pressure and hop my elbow, and it was a clear foul, and it was deserved. And on the restart, was able to surge with a little bit more drag and rotation and get to the pin line. Some people were saying I lost. I might have drained myself with an emotional dump after all the yelling and everything. I don't think that's the case. No real emotional dump at all. It was just kind of letting out some things that were inside of me, So it was a point to prove to myself for sure that I can be at that level. So mainly the yelling, tell me what I can't do is mainly at me, my own doubt. So a lot of that was just pent up things that I felt like I needed to get off my chest, maybe to myself. I don't think that affected my energy level. In fact, coming back out in the second round, I think that was the best and most focused I was. Went over to the good side of the strap. There's definitely, guys, there's definitely a good side of the strap. Especially, and people think it's mainly top rolling. Sure, it accesses a little bit more pronation. But for those of you guys that think top rolling is technical and hooking is brute force, you're missing it. We've talked about this. Rob and I had a long talk about how technical hook pulling is, and it really is. Like webbing height, not just webbing height, but where your hand positioning is, how much access do you have to pronation, where's the strap set, and then what are you doing after the go? Are you dragging? Are you driving? Are you rising? Are you pronating out? What are you doing? All these things are key pivotal moments, and having that good side of the strap really, really does make a difference. I think my first mistake was losing the coin toss, but you can't control those things. I started off well by being able to win on the buckle side, and then get a fairly quick win on the non-buckle side. So a lot of people reaching out about the deep pin not being called long, or for quite a few seconds. I've had it's frustrating in a hook when you're top rolling, you take a guy's hand, it's clear to see when their knuckle goes underneath the pin line. It's real easy to catch that. When you have a deep cup like this and you're aiming for this wrist bone being under that, it's tough. I understand with the referees that it's tough to see that sometimes, especially when you're trying to focus on the elbows to make sure there's no elbow foul before the pin. So I have no qualms with it. I mean, obviously I was a little bit frustrated, but I'm the guy who's going to yell when I think I'm there. So maybe the frustration was a little bit more of me yelling, it's pinned, it's pinned. So no, I don't think that was a huge bearing. The one thing that did happen is they tweaked my pec on that one. So after that, you'll see Rob rubbing my pec a little bit. Nothing major to the point where, I couldn't continue or anything like that. I have a little bit of bruising now, but nothing huge. So I don't think that was a swing point in the match, in my opinion. I wasn't demoralized by it. I didn't have any negative feelings or anything like that. So fast forward to the third round, couple big surges. Sasho makes an adjustment. Sasho adds a little bit more back pressure and drag, and he gets to go on the third round. Pradeep immediately messaged me afterwards and said, I think you made a mistake. And I was like, well, how so? What, work on my endurance? And he was like, no, round 3, you should have laid down earlier. And in hindsight, when I rewatched the match now, Pradeep's probably right. I don't know at which point would have been the best time to lay down. But, hindsight, thinking chess now rather than checkers. In the moment, I'm blacked out. I'm just like red line, So my clarity isn't as good when I'm on the table as when I'm in somebody's corner. So probably should have either laid down or just brought my elbow off the pad. Honestly, it probably would have been better to bring my elbow off and not allow my arm to be stretched, even if I'm giving it away. So I think that did have a little bit of effect. But again, I moved back on the fourth round to the good side. Maybe a couple of seconds saved there. I have a little bit more to finish. Did get a good start on the fourth round. Did bring it really, really close, from my eye through pin line level. I was close, yelling for it. Maybe had I laid down earlier, that may stick out to me as one of the biggest errors. But to me, my biggest error in the match as a whole was lack of preparation for endurance. It's interesting because I added endurance specific training to my regiment for this reason, knowing I need to have good static table in the middle of the table and I need to be able to hold. So I actually did static holds with my team, with increased adding pressure and decreasing it throughout for 2-minute sessions. So I did 2-minute sessions, like 5, and then 5 1-minute sessions, which is a grueling workout, but I think it did pay dividends for my static side pressure. I think in hindsight, I needed a little bit more of something that would have simulated endurance of surging. So moving forward, I'm probably going to work surges into that. Surge, recover, and recoil. So huge learning process. I'm very thankful for the information that I got. I am not upset about anything with the match. Obviously, I'm upset at myself because everybody wants to win at the end of the day. And losing sucks. Losing hurts. It is what it is. I'm licking my wounds, literally. But I'm also looking at it as I was blessed with a great opportunity to lose to an absolute class act in Sasha. I mean, like the nicest guy ever. Like we talked for quite some time afterwards. He gave me a shirt. I should be wearing it right now. The shirt he wore, I think, when he pulled Prudnick. So just a hats off, dude. I gave one to him too. His translator gave me a heated sleeve that eventually, once I get the info on it, I'm gonna do like a promo video for it. It's like a USB heated sleeve for the areas that are inflamed for arm wrestler specific stuff. So I'm thinking this is gonna be a really, really cool product that some of you guys might be interested in. But I can't believe how awesome the Bulgarians are. I'd love to go get with them and train with them because they have a complete different style from us, like table time every day. So I absolutely love the experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And to be honestly, at the end of the day, respect's a huge thing. First and foremost, you want the respect of the guys you're competing against, and we share a mutual deep respect for each other. I think before the match and now even more so after. So there's a moral victory in that, and like a self-affirmation thing that comes along with it, even losing. So silver linings to the clouds. Next matches, Angarbayev and Irakli. This one I called. I did nail that one. And I think it was a little bit more contested than I really thought it was going to be. The first surge, Irakli went outside top knuckle and just didn't have enough cup to finish. He was so close to finishing. He had the crest. He had it a little bit later. It always amazes me how Angarbayev can go low hand against the post and still get the defensive stop. But I tell you what, Angarbayev's transitions are unbelievable. They are second to none. When he shot the hook and came back out and loosened the strap so fast that I almost didn't catch it watching it. And I don't even think Irakli knew it happened. It was pop, pop, right out. Just enough to loosen the strap and snap back out higher. Unbelievable stuff. I don't think that there's a better technical or transitional arm wrestler on the planet. Next match, Dave Chafee and Ravaz. Obviously, love Dave Chafee. Got to corner him. But that was one of those matches that you really dread. The ones where you never really get to arm wrestle. And the match is over before and you feel like, what just happened? I didn't get to arm wrestle. So I know Dave needed the strap, and Ravaz was able to contain him. He got the quick flash pin in round one, telling Dave to commit to the strap. Ravaz still contained him. And then I think round three, he tried to flop to get out underneath and still no cigar. So we never got to see Dave and Ravaz in the strap. Not sure that would have changed anything because I don't know where Ravaz is right now. I know the Georgians say that he is the man and is still on the comeback trail. So who knows where his ceiling is? Maybe that's the guy for Levon. He's probably gonna have to pull a couple more people before that just to leave no doubt. But holy crap, man, that guy is unreal. And then obviously we get to the Devon match. Super entertaining, right? And I have not gotten to rewatch this match completely. So anything that I say right here might be wrong because my adrenaline was high. I know Jody, I don't know. Jody asked me to corner Devon so she could stay down and look at the hands and have that vantage point. So I obviously I'm not going to say no. I'll be glad to corner Devon. So did my best to be as vocal as possible about as much as I could. I know there was some question around the early foul that was given to Devon. I did not rewatch it. I do not know. I know people are saying that Gennady fouled too, or at the same time, or before. I don't know. So I can't really comment on that. I know that was a pivotal foul, though, because Devon at that point was in control and doing the normal Devon, talking, bleeding, all that good stuff. But that could have been a changing point. And in hindsight, maybe it would have been good for Devon to just go ahead and get that pin rather than hold him, but that's Devon's MO. Now, as the match went on, we dealt with some issues with the elbow coming off the front. So main things I was yelling for was to keep Gennady's elbow on the pad. He's looking to get forward so he can flop press and be as far forward on the pad as possible. And in the setups, he was coming off the front. So I'm screaming for that. Jody's screaming for shoulder squared. And it's interesting because I talked to Pradeep a little bit about it, and Gennady didn't have a whole lot of concern with the shoulders being squared until later on. And in great fashion, he pointed it out later in the match, and the referees started focusing pretty heavily on Devon. So my intention was to offset that towards Gennady. So like let's get both guys squared at the same time. Let's get them both squared. So Devon took, I believe, warnings and fouls on shoulders that put a little stress on that match. Gennady did a great job of squaring and then coming back, you know. So mainly it wasn't about his off arm that I was screaming about. It was his arm wrestling arm being forward, not the other one being back. He's keeping that one forward, but this one was further than that one, allowing for great access to side pressure and that shoulder roll or flop. So we get to the 5th round, and man, what a battle! The back and forth, the jockeying, the focusing on the shoulders. Gennady had, I guess, what we would call impeccable timing on that shoulder roll in the last go. There might have been a hint of a little bit of shoulder creeping forward before that go that might have had a bearing, but unbelievable match. And Devon's take on it and Devon's ability to be a sportsman, I actually would have liked, and I basically went to Jody and said we should if there's an athlete review, that's one to review, for a false start with shoulder coming forward. Don't know. I only saw it real time. There was no review. And the beauty of Devon is, I think, like myself, I would have a hard time asking for the review myself. Just being at peace, be at peace with what you're given. Understand that not all calls can be perfect. Things are always going to be missed. And Devon took that route as well, which is classy. I think, in hindsight, Devon gave a ton of respect to Gennady before the match, which is why I anticipated this to be a huge war, and it did. It lived up. I mean, everybody wants to see Devon win, right? Everybody loves Devon, but you can't take away from the fact that that was an absolute cracker of a match. Like, you cannot take away from that. Regardless of if your guy didn't win, you have to appreciate the incredibleness that was involved in that match. So even if your guy didn't get the win and you're not happy with the outcome as a whole, you got to respect both competitors. And Gennady, to me, the big thing that stood out from him, I know there's talks about like him saying that he's done things like run 10Ks and like abnormal times, and like his endurance is so good, and he came in looking so heavy and he looked like out of shape, breathing heavy, but he clearly has incredible endurance and he has a huge heart, and he didn't back down from any of the posturing. He's totally unaffected, which is kind of what I predicted. I felt like the guy was going to be just that, and I really think he lived up to that. So you got to take your hats off to the former champ and the new champ. I'm screaming for Devon. I'm only looking at stuff, that Gennady's doing wrong, trying to help out from the corner. But in the back of my head, he's just earning every ounce of respect from me. So both guys, total class acts. The way Devon responded afterwards, incredible. He did say, I think we can have a rematch. We can run this back several times regardless of outcome. And I think every single match is going to be a cracker. And I think that they are. I think that they are so well matched and so closely matched that we will see an amazing match every single time. So overall, I think the event delivered. Obviously, West getting swept sucks. But I think towards the end of the event, things got a little bit better, and then it ended in a true finale with that final match. So the matchmaking was awesome. Regardless of 3-0s, I think the event as a whole was great, high energy, and I know the pay-per-view sales were good. So again, thank you so much, Angan, for everything you're doing. Please, guys, if you're not supporting this event, go buy the pay-per-view. The matches aren't coming out for a week or two now. The pay-per-view's still there. I still have only watched half of it. I only caught my buddies' matches. I still got to rewatch the thing. The beauty of it is I got 5 hours of television that I can watch now throughout the week and split it up and watch the matches at my leisure. And I enjoy that, being able to break it up myself. So, Angan, thank you so much. Core Sports, thank you so much. Got to meet and rub shoulders with a lot of different people. A lot of ideas flying around for new things for East versus West. We'll see what comes up next. Remember, guys, a ton of y'all are reaching out about cards. We don't have any cards anymore. You got to pre-order them. And unfortunately, we don't have an option for individual cards yet. Was a suggestion that we made to Angan, maybe, allowing athletes to pre-purchase a certain amount of individual cards so they can distribute them. I'm all for that. I would love to do that. I think it's something we can look at in the future, but we'll have to see about the viability. So if you want the cards or the posters, the other thing is the posters, guys. The posters may be better than the cards. They're awesome. Like the quality and everything. I wish I had every poster from every event I was at. Unfortunately, I only got one. But that'll be something I change in the future. So anything you can do to support this event while it's still in the infancy of getting all the ducks in a line financially, I think in the future we're going to see this event and this promotion turn into something really, really huge. Need to land a big sponsor, somebody interested in sponsoring that has a business needs a tax write-off. There is definitely a return on investment through forms of marketing. So if you know anybody, if you have a friend of a friend who has a business looking for a tax write-off, interested in sports, maybe a business that relates to sports, let's get into our warm market and let's get Angan some sponsors so he can lighten his burden a little bit leading up to these pay-per-view sales. So again, guys, thanks for joining. That's my quick and dirty recap. Took a little longer than I thought it would. If you haven't done so, if you stuck around this long, give me a like and subscribe. I'm going to do my best to keep the content coming out. And again, I'm going to echo it one more time. Please, if you haven't done so, pay-per-view is still out there. Go to Core Sports World, coresports.world. Go there, get the pay-per-view. It's not too late. Next one will be coming in July or August. Did speak to Angan, depending on my schedule. I may or may not be on that. No match set yet, but that'll be the next one in July or August, potentially a double down one. Depending on if Angan can swing it, there could be two between then. But we'll see. Time will tell. But make sure we support Angan and everything he's doing, man. He's bleeding and sweating for this sport, and we owe him that. So thank you again. We'll talk to you later.